My name is Parker Gunnell. I'm happy and excited to be able to walk you through how you can use Foundation in your next web development project. So Foundation is this responsive front-end framework that allows you to make interactive and useful websites. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of what makes Foundation unique, and then do a little tutorial about how we can utilize it in projects. So first, just an introduction. Like I said, Foundation is an HTML and CSS framework that utilizes responsive grid. We'll be able to see a little more about these responsive grid attributes as we explore the tutorial. But keep that in mind, that is unique to Foundation. Also, Foundation is open source. It was first built out by a company called Zurb, but then was released as open source. And then since 2019, volunteers have managed the changes and updates. So the basics of Foundation is, again, the grid system and responsive design. We're able to utilize CSS style sheets and also take reusable components and make them useful throughout our website. And lastly, it utilizes Sass preprocessors for faster and more useful style sheets. So Foundation actually has two separate templates that we can build off of. First is a site template, which we're going to be looking at mainly today, but there's also the functionality for email templates, which can be used in a business or in any other type of company that requires very detailed and interactive emails. So it's a great resource, and if you have time, definitely look into that. So there's a lot of brands that are using Foundation as a CSS framework for their websites. Here are just a few of the companies that Foundation on their website highlights. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into this demonstration of how to use Foundation. So first, I'm going to kind of show you the resources that I used to learn a little bit more and go through the tutorials that are already given to us. So here on the Foundation website, this is the home page. It gives us a lot of information about like what it is and what we can do. We're able to download Foundation 6. There's a multiple ways that we can handle using Foundation, and so that's what we're going to look at first. So we can either install using a package manager and have this Foundation added to our project through a package manager. I mean, we can use Yarn or NPM, both are great options. We can also install a Foundation CLI or command line interface that will allow us to do everything that we need to. Here we can create a new Foundation project with different types of templates. Also a lot of great things. We can also just embed a CDN link into our HTML that will then access the resources available online so that we don't need this extra space in our project and we can just pull from already allocated resources. The way that we're going to go ahead and look at it today is by just downloading the CSS. So this is what I ended up doing. I just downloaded the foundation.css and it comes with basic index.html. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this is the HTML. It just kind of breaks down what we've been given. Actually, let's go take a look at this what this site gives us. And so this is the basic foundation CSS index page that they give us, so we can kind of explore what's available. We can see kind of this basic grid system, different types of inputs, different type of buttons. I mean, this is just a very, very top level view of what Foundation can do. So now we're going to jump into a little bit more. And so I've actually gone in to this HTML and added a few different abilities and functionalities that Foundation offers. So what I went ahead and did is here I created a new grid container. A grid container is is a class name that we can add that will call our foundation.css and take the information and it will take what Foundation has already created for our grid. And so let's go ahead and find our, let's see, grid container. And so here we have just many CSS calls for grid and how it can be organized. And I mean, if we just even look at what is contained here in this foundation.css, we have, I think it's around 6,000 lines. Yep, 6,456 lines of code. This covers anything from animations to padding to grid. All of these things have already been done for us, and so we can utilize them to make it quicker in our design of our web pages. And so back here, so we have this grid container. Within this grid, we decided we wanted to make a grid X. So this grid X, Foundation has gone through multiple iterations of their grid. They've had Flexbox grid and their basic grid. Recently, they released a grid XY. And so now this functionality allows us to specify how we want this grid to function and how things are laid out. And so we're creating a grid X here, which means things go across the X axis. And then here we can see this additional functionality here. And then as things are added onto each other, I mean, obviously there's only one item here, just a basic cell within this grid for this H1. And we can see that here, this H1 is here on its own axis. But here, let's go ahead and take a look at this XY. So we have another grid X with 3 elements. We have cell 1, cell 2, and cell 3. So here we can see cell is a medium 6, a large 4. And so that specifies how it views based on the dimensions of the page. And so if we go ahead and jump into the inspect and kind of adjust this page, we can see that here we're in a large screen still, but as soon as we hop into a smaller screen, we're hopping down into 2 separate rows, and they're split between the columns. And so this is very similar to most grid. They're broken down into 12 cells or 12 basic items. And so the 6 means it's going to take up 6 elements. The 4 means it's going to take up 4 elements. And so we can see the difference there. And so that will help us. We can even add a small. Let's go ahead and add that in and see what happens. So we would do a small. Let's make the small a 12. And so it can span across the whole thing. And let's see what happens when we make this into a small. Oh, looks like we jumped on. Here we go. So now it spans the whole width there. So really great in creating this functionality between screen sizes, especially between devices. There's also a lot of great additions that we can add functionality wise. to our website that can just be brought in based on what Foundation has. And so one is a drop down. If we had done this ourselves, it would have been probably about 100 lines of CSS in order to create one that is as functional and responsive as this. And so we have a basic drop down. Here we can see that responsive front-end framework. Here is a hoverable, so as soon as you hover, it pops up. So this can be great in adding to a more detailed website to give your users more information. We also have this accordion, which as you click on these, it brings these new elements in, collapses the previous elements, and we even have these animations here where it moves it from a plus to a minus, all just very simple code. We go back here to our accordion. This is all that is required. This is all that's required for this accordion that allows us to put these elements in, how it collapses, what it looks like, and the information contained in each of these. On the back end, if we went into our Foundation and looked up and found the accordion, if I can spell accordion right, perfect. We can see that this whole section here is how an accordion is used. We have our different animations, we have our different is accordion submenu parent. I mean, for me, this just makes it so much easier than trying to figure this all out myself. So just a great structure there. And we even have just pagination, which sometimes can be easy, sometimes can be hard, but if we're able to just have it built out for us, that makes things 10 times easier. Okay. And last but not least, I want to show you some of the resources that are available. So again, we were looking at the Zurb page, and Zurb has a lot of great things, how to set up, how to utilize Sass with its variables and different functionality to create these new variables and more interactive and responsive CSS style sheets. And then we also have the basics. We have our XY grid, just a little bit of a walkthrough of how we can utilize these things and what it actually does. So this is a Sass. This is how we can utilize Sass to edit what has already been done. So let's go ahead and also look at another great resource is tutorialspoint.com. It breaks down all of the different elements that are used in Foundation and how you can use them. Also breaks down the Sass functionality. Also some different libraries. A library that comes along with Foundation is Motion UI, so you can create a very simple, easy to use UI that is interactive, that changes as the users perform actions on the website. So a lot of great resources, but I mean, as much as Foundation is great by itself, we also want to be able to make changes as needed. And so as we downloaded this CSS that it gave us, we also get the app.cs, which is already embedded within the index.html. We can go in and make changes that we want, whether it be here. All I did was change the background colors of the sections so that this additional functionality is gray and that these cells are different colors. But you can go in and add your own CSS to increase your design potential for your website. And it's helpful in learning more about Foundation, and good luck coding out there.